on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now,
Jimothy.
So ladies and gents, we are back with another deck profile, and I'm going to show you guys the ninja list that I took to my most recent tournament. I think it ended up being a box tournament at locals. Now what I will say is, when I first took this deck, I was somewhat inexperienced with it. I'm not going to lie. I made a couple of misplays, a couple of things that I shouldn't have done that I did do, and a couple of things that I did do that I probably shouldn't have done. But anyway, I'm a lot better with the deck now, so to speak. And what I will say is, this deck is picking up in popularity because of a couple of more famous like YouTubers have been taking it to like major events. I think Cali Effect went undefeated with it at the Las Vegas YCS, which was absolutely amazing. So without wasting any more time, ladies and gents, let's get straight into the list. Now, ninjas is the name of the game, and there's a reason why I decided to play this deck, and it kind of speaks back to like the type of decks that I'm very much into, which is kind of like a mid-rangey style, explosive style type of deck, which is why I really like playing Plunder Patrol. And ninjas kind of fulfills that, because ninjas are typically a control strategy which can just basically kill you out of nowhere. Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo is the heart and soul of your deck, ladies and gents. Searches spells, searches traps, searches monsters on special summon, searches spells and traps on normal summon. So very powerful card. You want to see this card, you want to summon this card as much as possible. Now previous iterations just spam this card out multiple times. I've got multiple searches searching for like loads and loads of extenders just to be able to make a crazy board. We don't need to do that now, thankfully. Literally we can just Hanzo search, and then we can like set a couple of back row and play on our opponent's turn, which is something again that I like very much. So definitely triple Hanzo. Next up, probably one of my favorite cards in the deck, if not my favorite card, which is Tabari the Sky Ninja. This card is just this card's crazy. Apologies for the mixed rarity. I'm trying to get the last OTS pack tournament 21 super. Fuses. It can special summon a ninja monster. It can also, when it's the turn that it's summoned or flip face up, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, which makes it very sticky. So you summon this guy in defense, he kind of like just sits on field unless your opponent's got some kind of like non-destructive removal, which is definitely a thing, especially with Kashtira Fenrir running around. But Tabari the Sky Ninja, definitely a power play, and just being able to quick fuse on your opponent's turn can put so much pressure on your opponent, especially with cards like, well, when we go into the extra deck, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But definitely a free of, in my opinion, triple Tabari the Sky Ninja. Next up, we got triple Mitsu. Now this card, I swear I bought the whole set of this card for like £5, and now each of them are like £5-6 each, just because of just like how popular they've become. Mitsu is just crazy. Like literally, it's a monster negate and it's an extender as well, so it's very powerful, and it plays into the way that ninjas want to play with, like flipping monsters face down, face up, being very elusive basically. So triple Mitsu, these are, I think you should potentially just max out on these cards. These are your bread and butter ninja cards. Next up, I place at 2 Kagero the Sky Ninja. Sorry, not the Sky Ninja, the Cannon Ninja. He can kind of jump out of graveyard and bounce back a ninja monster that's been targeted by your opponent's effect, which is very useful, especially when you're trying to like get off some cheat effects and they've got like targeted negation, like Effect Veiler for example, infinite impermanence or something like that. He just literally says, no, you're not going to target that monster, I'm going to bounce it. Also, a normal or special summon, you can special summon a ninja from hand or grave. He's also a level 4, which does kind of play into kind of like the rank 4 toolbox that you can like draw into, which I'm not really going too heavy on, but it's definitely an option. Next, I play double green ninja. Now there's a reason why I play 2. He's typically a one-off. He's an extender for ninja monsters. Special summons to your field. You can special summon this guy, and then you can book a monster on the field. And then when he leaves, you can either book or flip a monster face up. So very useful. But the main reason I play this guy is because he's a level 2. And when we get into the extra deck, you'll see why. Next, I play 1 Baku the Beast Ninja. Again, this card is nice. If it's added to hand in any way apart from being drawn, you can like target a ninjutsu art or a ninja monster in your graveyard and just add it back to your hand. So it does help with a lot of recursion. It's only a one-of. It doesn't really do much by itself. It needs to be searched in order to be able to get its effect off, hence why I've only just left him at 1. His level don't match up as well, being a level 3. So yeah, but he does special summon himself if he is searched, which is useful. And if you special summon, that's when you get the recursion. So a useful card. You could potentially drop a green ninja and put another Baku in, but I prefer the green ninja, and I'll tell you why later. And then finally, the newest addition. This should have been a super, to be honest. Hopefully we'll get him as a super in an OTS pack going forward. But Geo the Gravity Ninja, this card is just, it's crazy into Kashtira. And in all honesty, ladies and gents, I think I haven't been giving enough respect to the power of Book of Moon. Just turning off an opponent's monster effects by flipping it face down is just so powerful. And when Geo is summoned, he can flick 2 monsters face down on the field, including himself as well, so he can like dodge a few things. But once that monster's flipped down on your opponent's side of the field, it's not flipping itself back up. And this is the very reason I play 2, because obviously Kashtira seems to be the deck of the format at the moment, and it's starting to pick up a lot of popularity. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Las Vegas YCS where like 9 zones just got locked out for no reason whatsoever. Geo the Gravity Ninja can potentially turn those off if you get it to resolve, basically. Also, if a monster is flipped face up, whilst this card is already face up on the field, you just pop a card on field just for no reason whatsoever. Just literally pop a card. So I do play 2. He is a brick in the hand, but I do play the Cannon Ninja as well as Tabari, so you can get him out of hand going second, and then obviously his effect is live then. But I do play 2 just because if you resolve him a couple of times, you've literally won the duel, especially with the way that your extra deck works and the way that attacking works in this deck, which is a little bit unique, which is why I kind of like this deck. So yeah, that's it for the ninja monsters. Onto the hand traps. I play 6 hand traps in the main deck. 3 of them being Nibiru for obvious reasons, just Nibiru's everywhere right now. And the other 3 being Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Nothing really needs to be said about that. Very, very straightforward, ladies and gents. Ash is really good this format. I know people have been speaking about it before because of Book of Eclipse, but also because of like Branded Fusion, Kashtira, Theriosis, I believe, is that what it is, the one that's special summons one from deck. Just having Ash really does help, and it actually works really well against this deck as well, believe it or not. So definitely triple Ash Blossom. Next on to the spells. Now starting us off, ladies and gents, let's go with a couple of the ninja spells. Now we've got Ninjutsu Notebook of Mystery as well as Ninjutsu Art Iron Digger. Iron Digger is nice, it's a pop. It allows for some recursion when it goes to the graveyard by adding back a banished ninja monster. So very strong card. You can loop this with your Baku as well, which is really good. The Ninjutsu Art of Notebook Mystery, I actually wanted to play more of this, but I didn't manage to get a hold of the other 2 before the tournament. I do have them now, which is funnily enough. However, for the tournament, I didn't manage to get a hold of them, so I was actually playing 1. Now, I do believe you should actually play more than 1, just because it's a nice little bit of an extender if your main play gets stuck for whatever reason. Because when I say that you play as a Telegraph, Hanzo is obviously going to have a target on its head. Is the one that actually gets the search, as well as your Grandmaster Saizo. So just being able to extend past any kind of like negation does really help, as well as being able to kind of like play on your opponent's turn by setting a ninja monster. So this card sets one from graveyard as well as deck, but you can't set both from the same place. So if you've got no cards in graveyard, you can only set one from deck, but chances are you're going to have both filled and you can just literally play out your graveyard. The way that this deck works in terms of like its recursion about kind of like rotating monsters in and out of the graveyard, I think it's absolutely crazy, which is one of the reasons why I was drawn to it, because the graveyard does play like a second hand. Like you can move stuff out there, you can grab stuff from there, it's crazy. So definitely look to increase that if you've got the 3rd one, ladies and gents. Up next is the 2 field spells. You've got 1 for recursion again, and Hidden Village of Ninjutsu Arts. Anytime a ninja monster summon, you can add a ninja or ninjutsu card back from your graveyard, which is just yes, fantastic. I'll have more recursion, why not? And you can also protect your ninja or ninjutsu art cards from destruction by banishing a ninja monster from your graveyard. So definitely a interesting card. Only a 1-of. You can search this very easily with Hanzo or Grandmaster Saizo. So yeah, definitely a defensive option. For a more offensive option, we've got Tenchi Kaimi, which is always treated as an ninjutsu art card, so you can search it with Saizo or Hanzo. And this card is just... I haven't actually resolved the destruction effect because my opponent's just too afraid of like the soul charge effect that it gives to the deck. So the first effect, which is not a once per turn, if a ninja monster does any kind of battle damage, you can pop a card on field. So you literally, if you've got like 2 or 3 monsters on field, you can pop 3 cards, or 2 to 3 cards, depending on how much of them do battle damage. And obviously once you go into the extra deck, you'll see how this functions, which is absolutely crazy. On top of that, if this card's destroyed in any way and sent to the graveyard, I believe, or banished, I'd have to check that, you can special summon any number of ninja monsters from your graveyard in face down defense position. So it like literally soul charges your board. And obviously ninjas have a way of playing with like flipping face up and that kind of stuff. And you can also go into your fusion monsters just by like literally contact fusing. So a very, very powerful card. I can't believe it's a common, you know, to be honest. So yeah, really strong. Next up, because I don't own triple tactic tasking, I've gone for triple tactic talents. Typically when I use this card in this deck is for the hand spin. I like to see what my opponent's playing, and mainly because Ash can hurt this deck, especially with your Maizen on field, as well as your ninjutsu art of dancing leaves. You need to see what, well, you don't need to, but it's advantageous to see what your opponent's got in their hand in order that could potentially hurt your deck. And when I do rip a card, I'm always ripping Ash. Like, I'm not really scared of Nibiru because literally I don't play into it. I'll probably do about 3, maybe 4 summons and then set a couple of back row and pass to my opponent. So Nibiru can be kind of dead against this deck. This deck can run into Nibiru, but if you do, you're definitely overextending needlessly, in my opinion, especially if you've gone first. If you've gone second, it is what it is, but if you've gone first, there's no way that you should be extending into Nibiru range because, yeah, you've got too many other options, basically. So, talents, just to look at the hand, rip an Ash, or just basically rip a Fenrir, or something that's going to harm me, basically. So, triple tactics talents is a must, and that's the reason why I play triple prosperity. This just literally digs through your deck. It's games 2 and 3. This card is just crazy, especially when you're sliding in your Book of Eclipses, Book of Moons, whatever you need, basically. So 40 card list, so prosperity just digging 6 is just, yeah, you need it. It goes without saying. Probably one of the best pot cards ever printed, to be honest. So apart from Pot of Greed, obviously, for obvious reasons. Next, I played double Book of Moon in the main. You could basically bump this up to 3. I've just gone with 2 just because, I don't know, I think ratios. I wanted to see a nice even mix between monsters as well as spells and traps, and seeing too many Book of Moons can be a problem, although I did see 2 in one match and it literally helped me win game 1. So there's an argument to be made about having a third one. Maybe you could take out one of the field spells and slide one of the field spells in. Maybe the Taichi Kaimi, you could slide that in going second because it's a more aggressive play. But yeah, double Book of Moon. And then for the one-offs, I've got 1 core by the, 1 reinforcement to the army and 1 core by the grave. Nothing really needs to be said about that. Next, we have our trap cards, and one of the most busted trap cards I've ever seen in my life. This again should have been a super. Ninjutsu Art of Dancing Leaves. So you contribute your opponent's face down defense position monster to basically summon a ninja monster from deck, which is just yeah, it's crazy. Like I read this to my opponent a couple of times and I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you're tributing my monster to get a monster out of your deck? Like, no. It was crazy. And the secondary effect to basically bounce it to its hand or bounce another ninjutsu art card to your hand, which most of the time will be ninjutsu art of duplication. So the typical play is if you use your ninjutsu art of dancing leaves, you can get a Geo on field, and then you can use your ninjutsu art of duplication to tribute Geo and then get like 8 levels worth of ninja monsters. And if you haven't been paying attention, ladies and gents, we've got levels from 1 to 2, 3, 4. So we can get like 3 or 4 monsters out if you're doing it correctly, which is absolutely crazy. And then with Tobari being on field as a level 1, you can literally fuse off, which kind of gets rid of the downside of this card, because if this card leaves the field, then those monsters get sent to the grave as well. So just using those monsters off means that you play around its drawback if it gets removed by any kind of like card effect. So definitely a busted card, but ninjutsu art of just dancing leaves is crazy, especially with Geo. You can book their monsters permanently, and then whenever you feel like it, you can just tribute one of your opponent's monsters and then just get a monster from deck, which is just absolutely silly. Next, on to the extra deck, ladies and gents. So the heart, the soul of the deck, Triple Maizen, the Battle Ninja. Now this card is the reason why I feel like I like playing this deck. It's a 2500 attack point warrior ninja monster. It takes 2 ninja monsters with different types. It can attack directly. Any kind of effect that's activated by your opponent, you can special summon a ninja from your deck straight onto the field. It's just crazy. It does so much for the deck. It's basically a link to infusion form, which is silly, but the main powerhouse of it, and the reason why I really like it so much, is the fact that it allows all your ninja monsters to attack directly. So once you've booked your monsters, like your opponent's field, you can have a field full of monsters that just literally don't care. They just ignore them and just attack directly. And in time, this deck is just crazy. Like, your opponent is not going to want to let you go second going in with this deck going into time, basically. So definitely a powerhouse of a card. Triple Maizen. Next, we've got the how can I say this? Yagoromaru. I think that's correct. I might have butchered that. But he allows you to just banish a card on summon. So basically on flip summon, special summon, just banish a card off the field, which is crazy. He's a level 5 as well, so you could theoretically play instant fusion if you wanted to kind of like keep recurring him out of grave. But I decided not to run instant fusion again. He can be contact fused again, so it's so easy to go into. Both of these monsters are just very, very easy to go into. I potentially would play a third one as well, just because of the way that Kashtira have been going about their business, just banishing cards from the extra deck. It's just good to have, and it's just another little bit of a flexi spot for like prosperity food, because literally, ladies and gents, these 5 monsters plus this guy, Ninja Grandmaster Saizo, your main extra deck monsters that you go into. Saizo can set a card from the deck. It can be a spell or a trap, which is just super powerful, and if it points to a monster, it can't be targeted for an attack. So yeah, very, very powerful card. 2000 attack link monster as well, which is just it's just huge. So yeah. Next, we have the ultimate great insect. This card, along with any kind of field spell, can just nuke your opponent's field. It's a bit of a weird one to get into. So it takes a insect monster with, I think, 2000 or more defense, equipped with an equipped card. So typically you are looking for your Mitsu, which is obviously 2100 defense, to be equipped with your Iron Digger. Let me just see the Iron Digger. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. This card right here. So you literally equip this to Mitsu, then you can just bring this out straight away. It's 3000 attack beat stick, can't be destroyed by battle. So yeah, it just, again, just more damage on the field, which is just absolutely crazy. So yeah, it's a nice little tech. Again, if you don't need it, you just get rid of it with prosperity. So yeah, very simple. Onto the XYZs. The reason I really wanted to keep the level 2s in, so we've got Blade Armor Ninja, allows you to just like double the attack of a monster. We've got a Beast Dweller. This is a flexi spot, could be anything. I literally threw it in just to make up the 15 cards because I needed prosperity food. And then this card, number 2, Ninja Shadow Mosquito. Now, obviously, you've probably seen this in Sprite somewhere along the lines, but this in combination with your Maizen just does so much. You can OTK people out of nowhere. It's absolutely crazy. Like, the amount of damage you can do. So you can burn your opponent and then just attack directly, and it could just have a 10,000 attack point monster on the field, and you just completely ignore it and just OTK them. So this is the reason why I played the double green ninja as well as the triple Mitsu. I just wanted to be able to have the option of going into this card because I really like it. When it puts the counter on your opponent's monster, it actually just puts the counter on and they're just negated for the time that they're on the field, which is just crazy. So definitely a powerhouse. The main reason why I've kind of bumped up my level 2s. Onto the links. Crush Sheep for a bit of recursion. Nightmare Phoenix just for a bit of utility, and Nightmare Unicorn. This is just like prosperity food, which is not prosperity food, is Moral Sword. Because again, if you really wanted to, ladies and gents, and if you was clever about it, it's probably not going to come up as much as you think it would. But if you had Borrow Sword on field and you equip it with your, let me just see if I can find it, your ninjutsu art of Iron Digger, it becomes a ninja monster. So Borrow Sword can attack directly. So super powerful, just nothing to be scoffed at. So yeah, OTKs for days. And that is it, ladies and gents. So just quickly before we go, I'll show you the side deck, because siding in this deck is fairly straightforward. Dark Ruler no more. Again, you don't really get locked into anything. So if you really wanted to, which I didn't do, you could literally Dark Ruler the board and go into Zeus. And it's very easily Zeus aboard, especially with talents, because if you're taking your opponent's Arise Heart, you got just like loads of materials on it. So just a triple Dark Ruler no more. I decided to put in Chaos Hunter. I didn't really side it in, and I'm glad that I didn't, because a lot of people are playing Thrust now, and you get punished heavily if you're playing against Kashtira, because they'll just take your Chaos Hunter, which is conveniently a level 7 monster, which is just silly anyway, but yeah, it is what it is. Next, this was a bit of a proxy, Ninjutsu Art of Rustmist, but I actually really like it. So as long as you control a ninja monster, anytime your opponent special summons a monster, their attack is reduced. I believe it's, let me just double check. Yeah, it says half the current attack. So it's, yeah, literally half the attack. It was supposed to be a proxy for Anti-Spell Fragrance, which I did side in. Now this card is a bit funny. It can kind of hurt you a little bit, but if you play your turn correctly, you can actually just kind of like play around the drawback effect of Anti-Spell. So definitely a powerful card. The other Book of Moons to make up the playset. The triple Book of Eclipse, ladies and gents. Why is this not in the main? Because I don't believe it should be. I'm gonna be honest with you. Going first with this card is a bit of a gamble, to be honest. It's probably gonna be the last effect that you're gonna use defensively. But if your opponent's got a field full of monsters and you book their field and then you try and play on your following turn, they're probably gonna draw like 3, 4, 5 cards, and that's enough to be able to kind of like play through your board with the current field and then have extenders afterwards. So yeah, I prefer this as a side deck card in honesty, but it's so powerful, ladies and gents. It's not even a joke. Like, I know it can be ashed, but Book of Eclipse literally just answers a whole load of boards, a lot more boards than you would actually realize. So definitely a meta staple at the moment. And yeah. And then finally we ran, or so to say, I ran triple evenly match. This is more for like the back row matchups, because there is back row removal in this deck, but this deck focuses on monsters, booking, and then attacking for game. So I wanted something a little bit more flexible. I decided against like the Feather Duster as well as the Cosmic Cyclone. Feather Duster is good, but with the way that Labyrinth is working at the moment, I just wouldn't advise it, especially if they've got Lord of the Heavenly Prison in their list. And Cosmic Cyclone, there's just not enough value there for one card. I feel like the way that Yu-Gi-Oh is at the moment, you kind of need one card to do a lot more than just kind of like trade one for one with a card. So that's why I've decided to throw the evenly matched in. But yeah, that is it, ladies and gents. Like I said, ninjas are on the rise. I'm definitely going to be playing this deck again. I'm going to kind of like mess with the list and see if I can get the other 2 notebooks in whilst not messing with the consistency. Might drop a cannon ninja, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, we find ourselves at the end of another video. As always, if you did like this content, you know what to do by now. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all of that beautiful good stuff, and I will definitely see you guys on the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.